first.
Just come that direction. Do you want me to pass them on to you or what?
Yeah,
I was kicking cars. Waiting for her to say yay. Oh, really? She's flexing.
Oh, no.
Please.
Let's call me to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is for the budget committee to elect their officers. Take it with me.
You're the chair.
Chair for 2 years, right?
We have a new chair this year.
Excellent. We've got to have entertain a motion to have some candidates for the chairman of the committee. Any recommendations from anybody?
Nominate Brianna.
Second.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is there any other nominations?
Who the nomination seats?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? I guess that takes care of that situation.
Nominate the vice chair.
Okay, can I hear suggestions for a vice chairman?
Nominate John.
Okay, John has been nominated now. Is there any more suggestions?
Who the nomination seats?
Okay, the nomination ceased. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries too. Now, where do we want to go from here?
Chair.
Okay, the new chair, he gets it.
We've got the town clerk here to do the minutes, if that's okay with you guys.
That's fine, yeah.
You can just let them be the clerk.
A unanimous decision of the budget committee.
Yes. No questions asked.
Okay, now what we got?
So you agree?
Turn it over to our manager for the budget.
Fantastic. All right, so we've got tonight, we have a couple, we've got the police and public safety buildings and the rec department. I'm hoping that we can do the rec department first, and then we'll do the police and public safety buildings last. So I've got Kayla up here. Is everybody okay with doing rec first? I assume there's no issues there. So I'll do what I've done in years past. I'll just go ahead and start at the top of the budget, work my way down, line by line, and just take questions, stop me, as we go. I've also got the capital budget accompanying this, so when we're done with the operations, I was hoping we could slide right over to rec capital. So for payroll, we have the rec director position. You see an increase there of $3,300. That includes the COLA as well as a merit increase. There's also the summer part-time help. So just to refresh, the summer part-time help line has been used for like beach attendants and other types of positions. Kayla and I have talked about this pretty extensively. She really doesn't need beach attendants. She really needs somebody during those summer months as like a secondary helper more than anything. So we've reworked this as a part-time position 12 hours a week, which is approximately 331 hours throughout the summer, June to August. And the duties of this person would be a mixed bag. They would be monitoring the beach facilities, assisting with the goose issue, cleaning the bathroom facilities on Pismo, assisting with rec programs when she needs some, somebody to pop in and out for, and helping with field prep for sporting events. So last year that was $59.62. We rounded to $5,900 just to give us the ability to utilize that one person. So I feel like that's just we mutually feel like that's just a much more efficient use of that money. So
How many hours did you say?
331.
I thought you said a certain number per week. Or
12 weeks, 331 hours approximately. Yeah. Health insurance, SSI, Medicare, I should say, the SSI and Medicare, those are based on payroll. You can see the percentages there. Health insurance is based on one full-time employee. That does see a slight increase. With the rates, workers' comp, again, is based on payroll, and the rate is set and in there. Retirement is also set by Maine PERS. There's a small increase there. Training and conferences, we're leaving that the same at $400. Travel, just with, we do have a town vehicle, but oftentimes Kayla ends up having to use her own vehicle, so we did increase that some. We've had lots of talks about mileage. So here's one of the big changes, sports activities. So this last budget cycle, one of the changes that we made is that we ran summer rec as a pilot program, and we'll talk more about this when we get there. But we ran summer rec as a pilot program so that we could do it all out of reserve accounts, so the money came in, the money came out, and so forth. Well, in looking at this, the sports activities are also a self-sustaining item, just like the other general activities, like, paint night or Zumba or whatever the hell else she comes up with, excuse me. And so doing the sports activity line, we'd like to remove that from the operating budget, put it in a reserve account, just like we are with summer rec. So that way when she's charging her fees or she's doing her fundraising, the money can roll over year to year and the account can build and eventually maybe not even have to ask for anything. So this year when we get to the capital, you'll see that we ask for an initial $2,000 to kick it off, but next year we'll evaluate if it needs anything or not. So it's zeroed out right here. Mowing, last year we couldn't get enough people to work at the highway department part-time, so we had to contract it out anyway. So this year we put mowing out to bid. We spent $12,500 on mowing last year. That did come from labor instead, but we ended up having to pay a contractor. We're estimating $15,000 this year just because of the prices going up. That's the mowing of the ball fields in the beach area. You'll find that later in the budget, cemetery mowing is separated out, but also will be the same result. For Pismo, maintenance of the buildings, the beach, the fields, the boat launches, you can see the price breakdown, and that is an increase of $22.96. Pottle Field grounds maintenance sees an increase of $2,120. One of the reasons for that increase is Kayla's been experiencing a lot of issues with the field, like grubs and stuff, so she's gotten some estimates on grub control to deal with that. That's what that is. Electricity sees a slight decrease. Fuel oil, we estimate $4 a gallon for K1 right now. Fuel is out to bid currently. I believe the bids are due next week, if I remember correctly. So we're estimating $4 a gallon as a working number, and that brings us to the $8,200. Telephone and computer, huge increase of $12. Internet stays relatively same, 120 increase. Water, based on the billing. Supplies, we're leaving that the same at $1,000. Equipment, leaving that the same at $1,000. Equipment again is for replacement chairs, tables, and those kind of things. Cleaning supplies, we did up that to $1,000, just finding we didn't have enough for the general cleaning supplies. Activities, this is what I was talking about earlier as well. Same thing, moved over to a reserve account, and taking it out of the operating budget. Rec center building and grounds, we've got $5,000, the same as it was last year, and that's again repairs to the rec building itself, playground, and the ice rink. And then the toilet rental for the ice rink, that's zeroed out again this year, and after this year it'll fall off the back end, so it doesn't need to be there anymore. So it's a little bit misleading, but it shows an increase of $256 to the rec budget, but you gotta keep in mind that $12,000 was moved as a capital request for those. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts for Kayla?
Did we replace the lining to the ice rink? I know we talked about that last year, and you thought you might be able to repair it rather than having it replaced.
So we tried doing something around the ice rink, but that did not help. But the fire department and the road crew helped out. We did a little bit differently. We tried freezing the middle first, and then just did small amounts at a time, and that went down great this year.
Thank you.
What is on the capital then? So for your capital request, this is the 24-25 year obviously. We've got Pismo Snack Shack stairs is the first thing under expenditures for capital. $2,000 is what we put in there, and the purpose of this is that when she can probably describe that, when you're approaching the snack shack where you get food that's like from the vendor in there, it's really steep and hard to walk on. So Kayla's suggesting that we try and put some stairs in there to make it easier and more accessible. So we do not have an estimate on that project right now. I think it's something that we might be able to look at Public Works helping us with or having to contract out. But if $2,000 is not enough to cover it, maybe through fundraising we can do the rest. Or maybe it has to wait till the following year, but at least it gets that on its way. The next one down, which is Summer Rec Reserve, is $11,000. So if you flip the page, Kayla has put together a breakdown of Summer Rec expense versus revenue. And based on the fees that have been discussed at the Selectmen's meeting and the fees that were used last year, there's a difference of about just under $11,000. I felt the program was quite successful last year. I think it was very well received by townsfolk. So I mean, I know that from my chair, I'm very supportive of doing it. And I don't mean to speak for the selectmen, but I felt like they were pretty supportive of it as well. So $11,000 is requested to make up the difference in that reserve account. And if more fundraising can happen, then it'll just roll over each year. Sports activities, that's the $2,000 that you saw also from the operating budget moving over here. Parking area at Pottle Field. A few times we've tried to use that field for things. It gets awful dark up there. Thinking about trying to just put some low-level lights, kind of like the lights you see at the town office now, just ones that just give a little bit of area light. So we've put $5,000 in there for that. And then the last thing in their capital this year is the electrical shed that is there, either needs repair or replacement because it just looks, it's just got holes and it's just horrendous. It's rotted and junk. So we've got $2,500 in there for either replacement or repair of that little shed. It's like a 6x5 or something like that. Yeah, it's not very big. So those are her capital requests for the year. And if I may ask, the last couple of years when we've done the budgets, when it came to the budget committee, you folks wanted to wait till we were all done and then vote on things? Is that the intention this year, or?
I was gonna make a motion that we park this budget until a future date.
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Would that be the selectmen's intention as well?
Sure.
Recreation.
Oh,
Yep. So I guess my only request would be just like last year, if there are issues that you're seeing, you can give me a heads up. I will be glad to furnish you with whatever you need. Anything else for Caleb tonight?
Just raise a lot.
What?
Just raise a lot.
We have been, we're doing good.
What's it gonna cost for a pickleball court?
That's coming, don't you worry.
Uh,
I've done a lot of pickleball.
You see if
They
we
don't
can
ask
manage
me
it.
much about rec, but they ask about pickleball.
They do. So hopefully, once we get the ice rink resurfaced, that'll be flat. So we can actually do a good pickleball court there. And then, we'll be putting down new tape at the basketball court at Pismo, and they'll have 2 courts.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have 3 and 1 indoor. For now.
There's been a lot of positive over there, I think. A lot of the programs have been really received well, I think. Alright, well, I'd run screaming out of this building as fast as you can when we change our mind.
She's not done yet, that's all right. Do that.
Don't have nightmares about that. Don't have nightmares about that.
I won't.
You guys want? Alright, so for the police department budget, I want to give one disclaimer before we get started. You see that there is a proposal for a new police officer position in here that is marked out as new, rate under regular payroll for $85,000. And when you look at the end of the budget, police total, and then there's police total including the additional officer. So, as you can see, this new officer position is starting at an estimated step 5 and includes cost of pay and benefits and such. So it does not affect the rest of the budget. So the purpose of that is if it's chosen to not include it, then we know exactly how much to take out, and I don't actually have to do any math, which is really a good thing. So what I'd like to do is just run through the whole budget and then come back and discuss that additional officer, if that's okay with folks. And we can. All right, so regular payroll sees an increase of $57,289, and a couple reasons for that is that we've had some turnover at the police department, so we have some different people filling those roles, and then also the collective bargaining agreement salary increases. So if you're interested in seeing what those are, there is a sheet in here with the list of the staff and the pay in there, or the positions and pay. There's also a copy of the collective bargaining agreement in there as well. And then, so other wages and overtime, this is for like holidays, vacation time, sick time, court, call-ins, and so forth. We left that at $50,000. Reserves, we did increase that by $2,400 to $22,400. The chief is hoping, or has been, utilizing, some reserves, but he's not at full staff. He has to lean on reserves, more so. SSI, Medicare, health insurance, those are, SSI, Medicare, as I said, they're based on payroll and based on those rates. Health insurance is 100% based on who's enrolled. We tried to break that down in there for you with who's enrolled and who gets the buyout. And for those buyouts, $135 a week, and that's in the contract as well. Retirement, we have 1 enrolled in the 457 plan, but then 8 of them are enrolled in the Maine State Retirement. And the match is all outlined by Maine PERS for us, and that sees, based on the payroll, an increase of $7,300, bringing it to $81,000. Workers' compensation is based on payroll, and that goes to $33,000, which is an increase of $8,000. Telephone remains the same. Office supplies, we remain the same before. Postage, lots of jokes that I can't use the postage machine floating around right now, but that goes up by a few bucks. With it's $100 for the free stamp and $250, so it's just more. Firearms maintenance and ammo remains the same at 10,000. Clothing, we increased that by $500 just based on price of the uniforms and so forth. And as we included, it's about $4,500 to outfit somebody who's brand new. Computer maintenance, we have increased that by $2,000. Try to get more exact on this number. The IT is about $135 an hour, and then we have off-site storage, which is $17.25, and then the antivirus for $490. So the $135 an hour is basically any issues they're having outside of Spillman, which is their database that they use, but in general IT stuff that they might need assistance with. So gasoline, we have that increased by $741, and that $3.50 is an estimate, because again, we have fuel out to bid right now. So piecemealing it over the last 18 months, we actually were able to get the pump working at the Public Works building, so we can use that, and that's going to save us a lot of money when we get that started. You know, we've started to use it, but we've got it out to bid right now for bulk purchases. Software, this is the Spillman, that database I was talking about that they use in the cars and for their reports. That sees an increase of $189. It's billed once annually. DARE remains the same at $1,000. This is just for DARE supplies. They did get a new lion mascot suit. Probably should have had someone wear that here tonight. All right, drug testing sees a $1,000 increase. It's $155 per test kit that they have to bring up to the crime lab, and that's, I think you said, if it's requested by the district attorney, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much a case-by-case basis.
I hate to break anybody's bubble, but there's a lot of drugs in this town. Community relations and training, that sees a slight decrease of $500. Legal expenses, we're leaving that at $1,000. And note that the contract negotiation will start January of 2025 for the patrol and sergeants unit. Last time we did this, and when I did it with the highway, I feel like that's sufficient. I don't feel like we need the town attorney sitting there the whole entire time. So it is less than the last time you guys went through this. Membership dues remains the same at $750. Publications remains the same at $1050. That's a bad number. Training and conferences remains at $7,500, and this is like their professional development, also their online training program that they use for their certifications. Equipment maintenance and supply increased at $500. Vehicle maintenance, we left at the same at $13,000. One of the reasons that we're seeing this line stay pretty consistent is that by being in this rotation, we're replacing cars every year. It's keeping the vehicle maintenance, down because they're not all worn out and so forth. And then ACO supplies, we remain the same at $1,000. So without the new officer, you're looking at a total budget increase of $75,531, and that's a total police budget of $1,1,480,000. If you add the new officer is a total of $85,365, and that brings your total increase of $160,896 in a total police budget of $1.2 million. So would everybody like to maybe hear from the chief on why he is proposing a new officer position, I assume? All yours, sir.
I know we talked about this last year, and things haven't improved since we talked then. I'll give you a few numbers. I don't want to riddle you with a ton of them, but this will give you a good overall idea of where we're coming from. Last year, our department handled 4,769 calls, which was a 7% increase from 2022. We also issued 211 criminal summonses in 2023, which is a 17% increase from 2022. We had 307 physical arrests, which was a 38% increase from the year before. In total, between arrests and summonses, it was 518 incidents, which is 32% above 2022's of 354. Our biggest problems that we have found is at the end of the week, especially Thursday, Friday, Saturdays. is predominantly the busiest that we deal with, and we tried to allocate all of our resources towards that. So that's why our sergeant predominantly works Wednesday through Saturday. And what my hope is, by getting another officer, is the opposite rotation from him. That way we would have double coverage out for everybody. It's due to the increase of the call volume, crime, and then again, we still have the traffic issues that we deal with and we get phone calls about all the time. I'm sure you guys get those also from a lot of the citizens. According to the casino, to give you an idea about how many people we have in town, this was kind of shocking to me a little bit. They have between 90 and 100,000 people a month come through their doors. That's coming into Oxford. For 2022, the town issued 106 building permits, and for 23, 109 building permits. So that seems to be staying pretty steady with people coming here. The Route 26 corridor, I tried to get better numbers for that. DOT is not the easiest people to try to communicate with, but we all sitting here know what Route 26 is. You know, you try to go up somewhere on a Friday afternoon and you're stuck at a stop sign somewhere. And then of course we have the racetrack and the fairgrounds that bring extra people here. And we have other special events like Truck Across Maine, the bike group that comes through, and they're coming this year also. And we got Hannaford, a specialty business, and then we have Walmart. And I could sit here and talk to you about Walmart for 3 hours. But what I can tell you that I learned today from Walmart is they have a current asset protection officer right now. They are so busy, they just hired another one, which means our responses there are probably going to triple. And I can tell you, we have been there as many as 4 times in one day, and it is not going to get any better. It keeps us extremely busy, and a lot of those cases need to have work done on them, such as follow-up. So it's not just going there because they've got somebody detained. They run off, asset protection gets the plate number, and we follow up on it, but it takes time. It takes time.
Shoplifting, right?
Shoplifting, yeah. So, and then keep in mind though, I mean, we have Hannaford, and you know, every now and then we get a shoplifter there, and back when Fred Buchanan was working there, we was there every other day for shoplifters. So if they spent more time there, we're gonna be in trouble as far as that goes. And then with that being said, keep in mind the major incidences that we've had, and I call this local. You know what happened in Lewiston, Rumford and Freiburg have had shootings now, and Norway had a homicide this past year. That we was all involved in trying to help out with that. And considering the town's growth, I feel it'd be great help to best protect the town that we serve by getting another officer, and also the officers themselves. A lot of the people that we are dealing with aren't from here. They're not necessarily our local people. We are dealing with a lot of people from Lewiston, Auburn, Portland, and they're bringing their history with them. And I'm not blaming any one businesses, because the businesses that I work with are fantastic people to deal with, and they're very helpful to us, and we do our business checks as best we can, and they comment on that a lot. They see the cruiser on the cameras going through. My fear is if we don't do this, by adding another officer, we're gonna fall behind like we did with the cruisers, and then by the time we realize it, we're gonna need to hire 2. And then the chunk's gonna be even bigger that we're gonna have to bite. You know, if we do this, my opinion is, unless we blow up like Wyndham, I think we could probably get away with it for the next 5 or better years. I think it would even us out to gain all the growth that Oxford's having right now. We're having plenty of new businesses coming. We have a lot of people in this town at one time. And look at July, you know, we have the racetrack, fireworks, the casino, and then even in the winter, 26 with the ski traffic. Our traffic complaints are insane. Road rage, and our specialty business, they don't necessarily bring problems, but what they bring is more people. More people means more traffic crashes, more road rage incidences, things like that. And the guys that are working the start of the week, you know, they're really suffering trying to keep up with calls at times. So that's my argument for it.
On your total cost for a new officer, that if we ended up hiring one out of the academy, that could still run more than what you got there, correct?
It could put it in through the school. I mean, that's always the little catch of it.
Yeah, well, and going through, you know, we have lost people, we've been lucky though, we've replaced those people fairly quickly. But of course, we know if we send somebody to the academy, you know, it's gonna cost us money to do that.
Well, no, but I'm saying if you hire a young guy out of,
Oh, recently out of the academy?
you gotta pay that too. That adds to
You have
that
to buy
number.
them
So
out.
that number really ain't the real number, that's a starting number.
That number includes what their pay would be with their fringe benefits.
Right, basically.
Correct, that's everything we put in there, I believe.
Right.
What about, was it last month or a month before you came, you had somebody who's gonna try to bring on?
Yeah,
Did you bring him on?
we did, yeah, yeah, and he's working out fantastic.
Another question. If we hire another police officer, are we gonna have another vehicle?
No. No, nothing other than what we're gonna talk about in capital. I don't have to add a car specifically. No. We rotate our cars like we do the schedule with the officers.
I would assume that both Noah and Paris are seeing similar.
They are seeing increases. The one difference, though, I want you guys to keep in mind when it comes to Norway and Paris is they both have downtown areas. So their businesses are more congested. Ours aren't. We have the casino at one end of the town. We've got Walmart basically in the middle of the town, and then we have a plaza in the north end. And literally, we are running north to south, back and forth all the time. And then you throw in the domestic that's in East Oxford, and then a welfare check that comes in. You know, especially in the beginning of the week when we have one guy, it can be a lot to handle.
Well, where I was headed with that, Chief, is your time to receive backup from one of the other towns is more or less probably.
And one of the issues with that is a lot of the times those towns are busy and they're not available. Especially on a Friday night, even when I'm not working, I listen at home. And then you put on top of that, county has an incident going over in Otisfield and their deputy is an hour away. So they're asking us to go over there. And I'm more than happy to accommodate and help them. But when I have one guy out and it takes our roster over there, you know, I have Walmart and the casino to worry about. Besides everybody else, our regular citizens. You know, that isn't even including, you know, the poor Joe that lives on King Street calling up complaining about speeders on their road. You know, right now we have grants so we can have extra officers out trying to do speed enforcement, things like that, have a better presence. But right now, if we didn't have those grants, it's very hard to do, you know, sit and run radar when you have follow-up on your cases to do and you're getting complaints. And our numbers are not going down. Every year, they are increasing.
You also have another box store coming in, Harbor Freight.
Yeah, Harbor Freight's coming. I do think that will bring a lot of people. I think it's a great thing for the town. But again, it brings more people to the town. When you have more people in town, you have more crashes, more traffic concerns. We saw that especially last summer. Take away the construction. And again, my concern is I just don't want us to get to a point where, you know, again, I don't want to keep beating up the cruiser thing, but we fall behind so far that we realize, well, we got to hire two now. It's a huge bite then. I'd rather take a piece of the cookie right now than the whole thing. And again, I think this would work though for us, for probably till after I retire. I think this would serve the town well.
I got a question, if I could. It probably stop me if it's avoiding the issue, but do you find with your new help or your existing help, that what is their reaction to reading in the court news, dismissed, dismissed, dismissed? Do they begin to wonder, why do I bother to do anything? Because it's going to get up there and get dismissed.
It is a constant work to try to keep morale up because, I mean, if you guys are reading the paper and seeing the court cases,
Yeah.
the cases that they're dismissing aren't small ones either.
2/3 of them that you bring in are given to me.
I have a complete file in my office because I keep track of this.
Yeah.
The numbers are
Am I
scary.
way off?
What's that?
Am I way off?
It's high.
Yeah.
It's high for what they're dismissing. And we've heard every excuse in the book about why they're doing it. And a lot of, my personal belief is that they're overworked at the district attorney's office. They're short on ADAs up there. You know, we see aggravated drug trafficking charges that just get dismissed.
That's
Yeah.
not just specific to Oxford PD though.
It is not, it is not. I've had discussions with Chief Milligan in Rumford. He's very frustrated with this whole thing. And of course, I talked to the Norway Parish chiefs and we all agree. But a lot of that is out of our hands. So we do put together the best cases that we can.
Dana just doesn't have room.
No, they don't. They don't. Dana, I mean, but take away the joke part of it. I mean, the jail is going through renovations right now. So, I mean, yes, that is another factor. But we made an arrest earlier in the week, and we ended up having one of the bail commissioners come to the PD, and he was able to bail them here. So we could get the bail conditions on these people. That's why you arrest people, to get bail conditions. You know, to try to keep them in check. You go to the court. So we're trying to do that as best we can, but there is some people that we deal with that they're so out of control, they have to go to jail. You know, we're trying to be very reasonable about the arrests that we make, especially now with the status that the jail is in.
Thank you.
Yep.
Want me to move into the capital for the PD? Is that all right? So police department capital is very complicated this year. He's asking for I'm joking by the way. He's asking for a new police vehicle. This continues with our rotation that we've started of getting, trying to get one new vehicle a year. And we've got $60,000 in there for that. Looking to replace this one. This one would be just an SUV for an SUV, not specific to a Ford or a Dodge or whatever, just an SUV to an SUV. And so there's 60 for that. That's the vehicle and the equipment. Then we also have the replacement of 3 of their tasers, upgrading to the Taser X26P, and that's tasers and holsters. That's $16,728. Ballistic vest, we've been replacing one of those for a year, and that's $1,600 for that. So the only thing I'll say about the tasers, and I'm sure the chief can explain that a little bit more, my understanding is they still have what's called the X26s.
Correct.
And the X26s are the tasers that I used and trained people on back in like 2006. So those are some pretty old, that's some pretty old stuff. It's the ones I'm thinking.
Yes, Taser's not even supporting any updates for these or making new batteries, so when they die, they're gone.
Yeah, so I think that's,
We did get our money's worth out of them when we initially purchased them, but it's time to replace them.
So rather than take a huge bite of the apple and try and do, $32,000 to $33,000 worth of tasers, the chief and I discussed, and we're thinking that we could just do, piecemeal at half this year, half next year for the installment
Says
process.
it was 3.
So those are the items that he's asking for in capital. If you look ahead in the 10-year plan here, you can see that he's got a different vehicle he's asking to replace every year moving forward. Some other ticket items along the way. The last year the vehicle was replaced with a pickup truck. Long term, we have been discussing trying to replace another one with a pickup truck. Pickup trucks seem to have a lot more utility in this type of environment than the SUVs do, especially more than the sedans. But the Chargers have been working out good. So.
They have. The only complaint we have about the Chargers, they sit so low, but they've been great in the snow and.
Why are you looking at me? You heard that before?
Maybe.
I drove one for about 5 years. I know how low they are.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Hello. Does anybody have any other questions on that item?
The year that you're just last replaced.
So for year, that's the year of the vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, the model year.
Follow-up question.
Yep.
Looks like we're choosing to replace a 2018 versus the oldest one, which is a 2016. So just wondering why.
Yep.
Oh,
Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
well, the 2016 is model, and it doesn't see the patrol work that the other vehicles have, it has lesser mileage, and it's in good shape. The other one was a regular patrol vehicle, and which is used a little bit different than what I do, just generally driving around.
Thank you.
Are you looking at the drainage this year too?
I am, yep.
I would suggest that maybe when you put the vehicles out to bid, that, well, competitive last year, I think we had 2 different vendors that told us it would be like 8 to 10 weeks. I'd really like to see us go with that, because we're, what, 8 months into this pickup?
Yeah, and this pickup Monday just went to be set up finally, because the equipment all finally came in. Yeah.
And we just seem to run into this every year, that we're typically 6 to 8 months, or sometimes more, to get these vehicles to you guys so you can to use them. So,
But this wasn't the vehicle problem, was it? Wasn't this because we couldn't get the radios and stuff? Or was it the vehicle?
No, we was able to get the vehicle, but it was the parts, everything that we needed to order for it. It took long, the availability, a lot of things, a lot of equipment to reorder. There is huge wait times.
This is on the computer and radio stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Not the vehicle.
Not the vehicle.
Basically outfitting the
Would it be
vehicle.
smart,
It's outfitting it after we get it.
but would it be smart to start ordering the stuff beforehand, before you order the vehicle, or you have to have the vehicle?
Well, as long as I know what the vehicle is. Because not everything retrofits into other, yeah.
But I do understand what, because you and I talked about that, and I agree, it's a shame to have it sitting there doing nothing.
It's
well,
been painful.
some of these bigger companies stop a lot of that stuff because it's turn out. So I fully understand that. I love to support local businesses, so, but to me, it's just 8 months plus to get a new vehicle on the road is ridiculous. And I understand the whole supply chain, but if they can do the car or the pickup for same price, and I think one of them was almost cheaper, if I remember right. To me, you guys need the vehicles now. You don't need them, a year from now, because that's what we're headed for. Seems slow.
And that has been a piece of the problem was we've had the truck, but we've been running the older equipment, and of course, the older equipment, I have to keep it repaired and safe, and it costs money to do that. Well, I will say though, we are on the verge, if we keep on what we're doing with the cars, it's gonna help us maintenance-wise a lot. We're right on that tipping point now, so I think in the next year or two, we're gonna be in really good shape.
Anybody else have any further questions for the police chief?
How many miles on that side by side?
That I can't answer.
Oh, for next year?
I'd have to look, I think it has an hour gauge on it. I'd have to look at it though, for I'm not sure. We've had that though for quite some time. Yeah, you remember.
Ronnie Kugel did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, no, I turned it to Bowden on the head.
Yeah. Boston Will, that's correct.
That we never used.
1007.
When did you price the tasers last? That sounds wicked high.
That was within the past 2 months. Dana, I was shocked at the price myself. Because ultimately I wanted 6, but it was $30,000, a little better than $30,000. Taser has gone up, and they're the only ones in the market.
And they do save money in the long run.
They're crooks.
Well,
They're the only ones that make them.
Well, they are.
Oh, they have
They're the
the
only ones that
market,
make the
yeah.
parts.
usually the
They're only ones that
taser
make the
saves us on
cartridges.
workers' comp.
They can charge whatever they want to charge, and they do every year. Because we just bought tasers.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the 26s and they're like $2,000 a piece. And I'm talking a year ago.
Yeah, this was literally, we just got this quote like 2 months ago.
But
Less than that.
I think it was, so we're replacing the X26Ps. What
Yep.
we're replacing it to, I believe, is the 7s.
No, the originals are the X26.
Right. The ones you can't get.
They also have, with the new tasers, they require a special training now with them,
Of course they do.
which is, you can't just do it online.
And that's all part of that price
You've got to
thing.
send an officer to get trained on them, and it's,
And again, like as you know, they have the market. There's no other option there for us.
Alright. Thoughts around the table, or?
Food park,
Park.
All right. If that's the case, it's a little, are we all done with the police chief? I'm sorry.
public safety building.
Hmm?
Public safety.
Oh, public safety buildings, thank you, Scott. At least somebody's paying
You
attention.
can't get away with that.
All right, so it's under PSB, excuse me. All right, this one, this is a pretty short one. So public safety buildings includes the building we're in now and the North End Fire Station. So electricity, that's where you see one of the major increases of $4,900 based on our usage. Fuel oil, however, sees a pretty significant decrease. The reason for that is we estimated significantly more for the price of fuel last year. This year we're sticking with that $3.50 a gallon mark, which is again just a placeholder, but it's out to bid right now. I'm hoping it comes in, better. Telephones, we went to voice over IP with Cove Communications, and so we've seen a little bit of a decrease in the cost of that, bringing it down to $2,100. Internet and cable, based on the rates, we see a slight increase of $96. Trash removal, we removed that line item from here. We started so the highway garage is going, the highway department, the public works department picks up the trash from everywhere in town. And so I have no idea 3 years ago why I didn't think of this, but they haven't been picking it up here. We had a dumpster. So we were talking about it, and now they're picking it up here. So that saves us from having to do a dumpster rental. Water, increase of $86 based on use, Propane, we were left at the same. That's only used for the cook stove and a generator, which is minimal use, backup generator. Supplies, increase of $1,000. The supplies are shared between police and fire, and that's for the general housekeeping type stuff for the building. Building maintenance, we left that at $20,000 based on use and based on some of the monthly and quarterly charges and so forth that we're seeing. And so I can go through that further if you want, but that includes everything from boiler, HVAC, modern pest, fire alarm testing, sprinklers, fire extinguisher, annual certs, and that kind of stuff. So that brings a total of $73,704, which is a decrease of $4,500.
What do you have for internet provider?
It's Charter, Spectrum,
TV.
same.
So we have it. The town office that keeps going out.
Yeah, so I had to be talked off a ledge the other day because of that. So the issue was apparently that CMP was doing work on a pole and something got disconnected or something on top of the pole is what I'm being told, which is why we lost it the other day. The previous issue is another claim of some other outage that was beyond Spectrum's control. So we've started looking at prices through, what is it, North, or
Fairpoint.
not Fairpoint, Northlight, or,
Yeah, the old Oxford North.
yes,
So we don't.
First Light.
We don't get a reduced rate for a public safety building on internet or television, because I see this because I have Spectrum cable and internet and TV at home, and I don't pay that much.
So
And I've got top of the line internet, so.
my understanding, the rates that they're giving us are what they're quoting us, and my understanding is we get the cable TV for free. It's the internet access and the level of connection speeds, you could talk circles around it for that we need, is why that's what the cost is. So I certainly can try and get more details on that if you want.
So first, like, is First Light the old auction network?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, there's a line because Ambrose says, I used to use auction networks for the racetrack, and there's a line right down.
I believe that's now first light.
So
So
first,
it's
we don't
right
usually-
there on, it's on the Powell Road, so.
the first light was hooked up to what is now the town, when the hospital owned it. So we had switched over to Spectrum because that's what we were using everywhere
Right,
else.
right.
So, hindsight, being hindsight, it might have made a different decision, but at the time. it-
Check it out.
Like, originally, we had the old Oxford
Networks here.
network. They ran a special line down through here just so that we could hook this building in.
I was gonna say they got optics right through here into Portland.
Well, when we did the original cable
Yeah.
contract, this is, so I think we're about the only municipality I know that pays for it.
First light is, we don't use it anymore, they were gonna go up to $300. They only use it 1 month of the year.
Adam, can I ask a question on propane line? Last year, not specifically to this budget, but it'll carry to this and all other budgets, so I figured you might as well get it out of the way up front.
Mhm.
We had talked about, last year, the variation in prices
Mhm.
from several different vendors. The town was contracting with multiple vendors for different buildings, whether it was sewer plant, whether it was town office, et cetera, here, getting different rates. And one of the things that was suggested was trying to get a single provider to provide a bulk rate of propane to service all town buildings. Did that get any traction or action?
So what we did is we put the fuel out to bid to include propane, and that's out right now. I believe it closes next week, if I remember correctly. So these are projected numbers. They're probably a little high. I'm hoping they're high. And so the only exception to that is, and I think it was actually you about the town office with AmeriGas up there. So AmeriGas is not willing to sell us the tanks. We did look into that. So that is separate from the propane or the fuel bid that we put out there. And our hope is that it's bulk, because it'd be the sewer, it'd be here, everywhere that uses propane would be part of that, so.
Thank you.
Yep. And that's the same with diesel and gasoline. Yep. Any other questions for the chief? Sorry, Henry?
Move to park.
We're at 6 o'clock. Do you guys want me to work on the admin budget with you at all, or would you like me to just save that for another time?
Save it for another time.
Right here. Can't dance tonight at all. What the hell's the matter with you?
What night
Sit
is
up
that?
here,
I just do the administration unit out of the way, because
That's next
the
week.
one we need is the town manager.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you. We're all here now.
I think other budgets if time allows, so it's a bigger squeeze it in.
Jesus.
Because I will stay till midnight to get through the whole book if you guys will.
Not this week.
I'm gonna find out. Places to go.
You just gave me the hairy eyeball if you will on that one.
We're gonna go to administration first. Before we get into this one, Adam, just a question for overall, what is the COLA this year?
3.2.
Okay? Does every employee in the town, are they entitled to a merit raise?
All full-time employees are entitled to COLA and merit. Part-time employees, you'll see, like with the fire department, when we get to that, there are increases there, but I'll get into more detail when we get there, for the per diem people, yeah.
And what is the percentage merit between steps?
So the way that the policy is, it's not done by percentage, it's done by actual dollar amounts change. A good review can get you, I think it's 33 cents an hour increase, if I remember correctly.
So there's no way to figure out what that percentage is. Overall, I mean.
No, I mean,
Not 2%.
it's not 2%, no, it's So what we did is we figured the payroll on everybody getting a good review, which doesn't always happen. But, well, we do have really good employees, so I think a bulk of them will.
I understand, but
Yeah.
that was, didn't really make comments, I'll keep it myself.
I had to do that earlier.
I know.
We're both mature.
Maturing.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Sure. So, if everybody's good, I'll start at the top and ram right through. So, a couple of things about the administration budget. So, in last couple of years, we had administration, and then we had boards and committees as a separate budget, and then we had code enforcement as a separate budget. So, in looking at that, though it was my idea to separate those when I came here 3 years ago, I'm finding that here it doesn't really make a lot of darn sense. So I've gone back to the way that you folks were doing it when I got here, and I brought all three of those back together. So codes, boards and committees, and administration are all in the same bucket. So what we did is this year, their total for that, but we went back 2 years and combined those totals so you would know what you were looking at. So, with that being said, regular payroll sees an increase of $92,254. The reason for that increase is that a big portion of that is the addition of a full-time assessing agent since the reval. That is a major portion of what that is. The other portion of it is then what Henry was just alluding to, which is the merit increases and COLA and so forth.
It includes the code enforcement officer.
And includes the code office.
Which they hadn't done before.
Correct. They were combined together.
Just keep in mind, as I go through this, I don't want to don't have to keep asking questions. Just tell me which one's been moved and enrolled.
Alright, so here's where I'm waiting to get some flack a little. So, no, not this one, excuse me. So overtime, board meetings, I broke it down. There's a $2,300 increase. This one's pretty straightforward. Board meetings, so there's three monthly meetings. There's 2 selectmen's meetings, and there's 1 planning board meeting. And we do have a clerk that goes to those, so we obviously have to pay that individual. We have elections twice a year, or this time it was 3 times a year, and we also have town meeting. So to pay the clerks to be able to do those things, that's where you see the $2,300. Boards and committees, this I called it new, but it's really just moving it over from its own individual budget. And I don't know if people are going to agree with what I've done here. It shows an increase of $5,600. Planning board and appeals, it's difficult to find people to serve on those boards, and we've been paying them like $10 a meeting, which from my perspective, you could not get me to do anything for $10. So, it's a civic, contribution. I understand that. However, we're having a difficult time, so I'm proposing that we increase that to $100 per meeting, which, when you're looking at, that's times 5, but that's 12 meetings a year for planning board and approximately 2 meetings a year for appeals. I think that if we start doing that, we're going to get not that we don't have quality people now, but we're going to continue to get quality people on these boards, and maybe we can just remain professional in these positions. That's just a proposal. I know that's 100% open for discussion, but I did include that. Election workers, that sees an increase of $11.90. A big portion of that is the minimum wage increase and so forth. We tried to break down number of hours-ish that you see there, plus the moderator per town meeting. Social Security, Medicare, again, those are based on the payroll amounts you see above. Those do see increases, both of them. Health insurance sees an increase of $17,500. Again, that is a major reflection of that is the addition of the full-time assessing agent, but also we've had some changes in the front office staff, and the enrollment of those people is different than those that were there before. Retirement sees an increase of $25,000, 25,228, and that again is the result of the assessing agent, or excuse me, is the result of changes in front office, and then also the enrollment of the new individual in the 457 plan as it notes. So workers' comp, a minimal increase there of $334. Utilities, we've broken that down and sees a $2,600 increase for electricity. Fuel oil, again, this will fall off this year because we don't use fuel oil at the new location, but it's zero. Propane does see a slight increase of $112. We're seeing a price of $2.21 per gallon or per unit right now, which actually seems quite fair. Telephone, code, again, like I said, for the public safety buildings, code communications, and we're seeing a $2,100 increase there. That also includes cell phone stipends for the code officer and the town manager. Internet, it goes slightly down up there for $1,400, bringing it down $360. Water sees a slight decrease, $22. For supplies, we're leaving that at $10,000, and that's for the cleaning supplies, paper products, and economic supplies and office items. Postage, we're leaving that at $9,000 based on our usage. This postage has gone up, but just based on the usage, we feel that's sufficient. Legal notices, remaining at $4,000. Forms, such as having our tax bills printed and ordering checks, we've increased that to $200 based on what we have an estimate for the printing of tax bills and then purchasing of checks. Election supply, an increase of $500. And the big portion of this is that for state elections, you can correct me if I say this wrong. State elections, we don't have to pay for the programming of the sticks, but for municipal elections, we have to pay for those. So that's where that cost comes from. Did I say that right? Okay. Equipment supplies, we are leaving that the same. This is just general desks and such. Town report, remaining the same. We've got the same estimate of $270 a copy, 500 copies, and that seems sufficient. I think we still have some left. Filing fees remain the same at $9,000. Assessing, so you see there's a $16,800 decrease here because this is where we were paying the previous assessing agent, who was a contractor, $20,000 is where her contract rate came from. So that $20,000 has been removed. But then assessing software, which is not Vision, it's Patriot software, is a $2,000 a year cost to that for the software, and then the mapping and GIS, which is also available online, is a $4,200 cost per year. So that's where you see, yes, it's a $16,800 decrease to that line, but it includes $4,200 more for the GIS mapping, and then you see the payroll line increase. So. Computer maintenance and Trio, that sees a decrease of $4,900, bringing it down to $32,700. The reason that you see that $4,900 decrease is because now with the new assessing software, we don't have to pay for the module within Trio to do the assessing, because now it's done by a different program for us, which is, it's like the difference between a Ford Pinto and a Cadillac. It's awesome. Copier, we see a slight decrease of $1,250, bringing it to $4,750. And the elevator, that'll fall off this year. No pun intended. That'll fall off this year, but we don't have an elevator, thank God. Auditing, we are being quoted an increase of $15,700 for the cost, which is a $3,700 increase. I know that's a $3,700 increase. I think that we get decent auditing services, and it is very difficult to find auditors right now. They are few and far between, and Ron and his folks have been super to us, I think. Legal administration, it remains the same at $20,000. That's That $20,000 is legal consults with the town manager for whatever, code enforcement, it's for all administrative legal consults. Postage meter, we increased that by $150, bringing it to $800. That's with attachments. I was corrected on that through this process. Dues sees an increase of $731. This is everything from AV COG to our MMA membership dues, professional memberships, assessing to treasurers to the clerks association. All these things are really, I think, very valuable professional organizations that give a lot of good things to their folks, the clerks and such. So every year I've been asked about what does MMA membership do for us, so I included their flyer that outlines all of the things and services they provide right in here for people to look at. Training and conferences, increased that just by $300 to bring it to $3,500. That is professional development and trainings and so forth. Mileage, increase of $50. Again, on the mileage side, we have a town vehicle for folks to use, which is definitely the preference. Manager expense remains the same at $500. Building and grounds remains the same at $9,000. And then vehicle expenses remains the same at $3,250. That is a combination of the code enforcement and the admin vehicle expense line. So in maintenance, the only thing that I'll say about the vehicles, we have the pickup truck there, which is a 2012 or 13, I can't remember, but it's rust. It's not going to take another sticker this year. So as soon as that pickup truck is on the road at the PD, we're going to take the old Explorer and put it up there, and the code officer is going to start using the old police Explorer until we cycle something else through. The Kona, the electric car that we have, that lease expires in May, and we'll be going back to the mothership, and we will no longer have it anymore. So I'm thinking that there's no real reason right now to necessarily replace the Kona, but I think that maybe when another police vehicle comes available, we might just grab another one of those.
Both of them?
What's that?
Both of the vehicles, the one that, electric vehicles, sewer district?
Z has, yeah. Yeah, they both go back. So that brings your administrative total to $934,661. That is a total increase of $137,000. Remember, right, there are a couple, I can't remember, there's two CIP items for this. You want me to hit those real quick, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I put this under admin, which I'm gonna start probably referring to more as general government, because it's all encompassing of things. Every year we put $5,000 away for, well, since I've been here, we've been putting $5,000 away for cemetery maintenance, stone repairs, and that kind of thing. So that's included as a CIP request. And I would also like to start saving money for Thompson Lake Dam repairs. So there's about, I think, 60-ish thousand in that reserve account now, but I'd like to contribute another 10 in there. I think that's something that we need to start doing more regularly. We've got things like as far as the retaining wall, gates, fish screens, I mean, all kinds of things that need to be addressed, and if we don't start attacking these things, they're going to get us. I'm making a $10,000 request for that. That's what you're seeing for this year. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Don't be throwing at me.
Two questions for you. On the dam, just for educational purposes, with the Robinson Mill project apparently going forward, the town then is retaining control and management of the dam?
Yes.
Then the second question.
I tried to get them to take it.
Poor salesman, huh?
Apparently.
The other question I had, adding a full-time assessor rather than continuing contractual agreements, what was I wasn't privy to that decision. I don't know where that was made, but I'm just curious why adding a full-time employee, was there satisfaction or not with the contractual arrangement for the assessing?
So, the short version of that is in consultation with the Board of Selectmen, when we went to the reval, one of the things, so Donna, who was the assessing agent before contractually, was working 2 days a month. She was wonderful, she did a great job, and she had plenty of time if it was still 1995. But because of the growth that we've had in town, she couldn't keep up, and that was the biggest problem. She was competent, she was doing a great job, she just couldn't keep up with that amount of time. So after doing the reval and seeing all of the value that was gained, like I said, talking to the board, we felt the best thing to do was to fill it with a full-time position. Anybody?
Table.
Second.
Has everybody had enough?
One more. No.
If I make a motion before we close, just to park all subsequent budgets
That's-
until they're all presented, and all budget reviews have been
I'll
considered
second
by
that
the
motion.
select board.
All in favor?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
You want for our call?
I will.
Nobody wants to take me up on my
And then look-
And just so we can all be on the same page, please, for next week's meeting, what time is the actual budget committee going to start?
I was advised, second meet at 6.
Okay.
We're gonna reverse it from what they did to me last week.
Alright.
You sure about that?
I'm fine.
You sure about that?
I'm coming at 5.
And next
Call-
week's
call the
budget
budget
will
meeting
be,
on.
Not for 6.
We'll all go, then we'll be one more.
Right.
You get the calendar, you have to.
well, I got it, but also the times aren't aligned with reality there, so I want to know what the budgets are.
Are there
for next
times that aren't lined up with reality?
The original email we
Yeah, I
got,
did,
I'm pretty
but-
sure it said 6 o'clock.
That was
did.
for the first,
That was
Last Thursday.
that was last week.
And we
Oh,
didn't
But
meet
then
the
the email
until
for this
7.
week also said, when I asked,
So
it
the
was
selectmen
at
met at
6 o'clock.
I'm not making that mistake again.
Oh, Wendy.
Did I send that email?
Yes, I've got that email, if you'd like to see it.
Did I send that email?
Yes, hence
we're
my
at 5 o'clock,
arrival
the
at
rest of the-
7:45.
Well, I retract all
I
derogatory comments I
apologize.
made about you folks earlier.
I sent a lot too. I own it then, I am so
All
sorry.
right, so then the next question is, the calendar is correct as to what budgets we'll be reviewing next week?
Oh, yeah. You want this one, you want that one.
5
Yes.
o'clock.
Yes.
Next Thursday night, right?
Give me one more time. 5 o'clock.
Thanks. 5 o'clock next
In
Thursday.
library.
Yes.
5 o'clock every week.
Discussion last year.
No,
We're
I
finished with the
then
budget.
we're going on to
Is
selectmen's
the,
meeting.
It's not,
Yes.
Yes.
It's third party.
5. Because Henry said
So they're
so.
not gonna be following.
Henry said so.
what I remember wasn't that they were a third party request, it was that we were requiring them to produce a budget.
Yeah, we wanted a budget produced like the other departments,
Right.
even if it was a third party.
But it was the selectmen that said that they wanted to be treated as a third-party request.
Yeah,
Who's
which is
that?
great, but it's still.
The library.
The town has a policy for third-party requests for nonprofits, for anything that's not a town.
I never considered the budget.
Wow. Recording. All right, thanks everybody.
Finally got started.
You finally got started. Thank you, Adam.